Let's switch things up a little bit and we're gonna talk about switch. Heh, bad joke, I know. Let's move on. So a switch statement kind of looks the same as an if. You're gonna find it very familiar, but it works a bit differently. So let me kind of show you what I mean. Okay, let's kind of create a text here. So I'm gonna say let text, or we can do const here because I'm not gonna change the value of this. Oh, what's happening? Okay, const text. We're gonna set this equal to banana, all lowercase. Okay, now to create the switch statement, we're gonna write the keyword switch, and in here we're gonna add this text. All right, so we're checking for this value, kind of like in the if statement. If text triple equals to banana, then we do something, right? Oof. Let me correct this. Let me close this up because it's gonna error out. Let me remove this. All right, so if banana, then we do something. Then we can do else if text triple equals blah, 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 apple, then we do something. So if we have multiple of these, this kind of looks not that good. It's hard to read, it looks bad. So in this case, if we want to check one value to another and we want to make sure we want to run something, we can do a switch statement. And this is how it looks. We write switch, we just add the text in there, and then we have a curly bracket, and in here we have cases. So I can say if the case is banana, then I'm gonna add a colon here. We can run a certain amount of code. So exactly kind of like an if statement. Console log, wow, I love bananas too. There we go. And then we can do another case. So case apple. All right, so it's a cleaner way to check the value for each case rather than doing a bunch of else if statements. In here, we can again say console log, I don't like, let's do a backtick here. I don't like apples, you crazy okay, let's just keep it simple. Perfect. So we have two. Okay, so now that we have banana, the switch statement is going to take a look at the banana, and if it's equals to banana, then it's going to run this code block in here. So let's take a look. Wow, I love bananas too, but we also get I don't like apples, you crazy. So why are both running? Well, we need to add a new keyword here. It's called break. And when this statement runs now, once it finishes up the console log, this break is gonna stop this whole switch statement. So as soon as it reaches to this part of the code, it runs everything in here and it exits out, and it keeps continuing right down here. All right, so it ignores anything else below it. It doesn't keep running. So let's do another one here, because if I do case, let's say avocado, and then we say console log, what fruit is this? Like that. Okay, so if we have banana, as you can see, only that one runs. It ignores all the other ones down below. Now, a good practice is to add break to everything, because generally you only want to run one specific case and ignore the rest of them, right? You want to just check one value here, and if it matches, then you want to run that certain code block. So let's just add break to everything in here. And by the way, you can also add more code in here. You don't need just one console log. You can, maybe we have you're keeping track of the number of the fruit that they selected. So we can say something like let fruit number, and that's equal to 0, so that's by default. And maybe if they choose the banana, then my fruit number is gonna be equal to 1. And if I choose this one, our fruit number is equal to 2, and on this one, it's equal to 3. Okay, so hit save. And by the way, I use let here, because you're gonna see if I switch it to const, we're gonna get an error. Boom, invalid assignment. Why is that? Remember, we cannot assign a new value to a const. So if we do fruit number is equal to 1, that's not gonna work. It's gonna error out. So we have to switch this to let. Okay, I love bananas too. And we can actually check here. If we say fruit number, hit enter, it's gonna be 1. All right, so we can add more code in here. But what if I have a fruit that is like unknown, or maybe let's just say, I know like 3 fruits. Ed, think of another fruit. What's another fruit? Kiwi. All right, what happens now? Well, nothing happens. This whole section doesn't run at all. Wouldn't it be nice to have a case that checks for a default? Like, in case we don't have a specific case, then just run that. Kind of like an else statement. If all the ifs go wrong and nothing comes true, then we kind of have that catch. So we do have that as well in the switch statement. We can write default like this, just default. And then here we can say console log, what fruit is that? Like that, okay? And then we can break. So let's hit save, and as you can see now we get what fruit is that? So everything works just fine. So this is how a switch statement looks like. You can kind of tell this once you start programming more, where it is more beneficial to use an if statement or a switch statement. So this kind of comes to, depending on what you're building out, you can kind of tell what you need. So let's kind of build out a small little example that's going to use this switch statement. So let me comment everything out up here. Let's build out like a mini game. So let's go down here. So let's do a little game that we can enter a fruit, and the computer is going to tell us a fun fact about fruit. Now the facts that I'm going to add are totally incorrect, but we're doing it for the fun. So let's say let here, and we're going to say user input. So we're going to get the user input, and we can use something called prompt here. And this is going to basically, whoops, not that one, prompt like that. And we're going to add a pair of parentheses, and in here we can ask a question, and it's going to pop up here on the screen. And when we enter the value, it's going to be saved here in the user input. So let me kind of show you what I mean. What is your favorite, or we can say something like, tell me a fruit, like that. Okay, so hit save. I'm going to hit Control Save, and then look at that, we get a pop-up, tell me a fruit. So I can say kiwi, hit OK. And now if I go here to the console and I just write user input in here and hit enter, as you can see, the value of kiwi got saved in here. Okay, so now that we have something saved in here, we can do a switch statement and we can check what the user said to us. Switch user input, and now we can say if the case is kiwi, then we can say a fun fact about kiwi. So let's say console log, kiwi is the first food invented by the ocean boys. All right, so that's a fun fact right there for you. And then we're gonna break out. Then we can do another case banana. We can say console log, my girlfriend bought 12 bananas for no reason. Okay, and let's do the last one. Well, that's not a fact, but okay, let's move on. Let's do another one here. Last one, apple. Console log, depending on which apple you buy, you can either go bankrupt or eat too much sugar. Okay, I don't know what I'm saying. Let's just hit save, and let's do a default as well. Default. And here we're gonna say console log, that fruit is unknown to me. All right, so this is our little fruit fact machine that we built here. Make sure to also add break to each of these at the end. So let's just go back here, add it to the end, add it to the end, and this one as well. Hit save. Okay, perfect. So let's give this a shot. Tell me a fruit. Kiwi. Boom. There we go. Let's give it a refresh. Let's try the other one. Banana. There we go. We can do just something random, and that's gonna just say the fruit is unknown to me. And yeah, it works perfectly fine. Now I kind of want to show you a few new things here. What if I don't want this console log to be here? Maybe I'm just on the page, right? And I want to refresh, add something, boom, but I don't see anything. So let's kind of change this console log to an alert. All right, and that's gonna pop up just like the prompt. So let's do alerts everywhere to make this actually kind of work. Hit save. Now let's take a look now. Okay, tell me a fruit. What else do we did here? Apple. Apple. So boom, there we go. We have a pop-up giving us the answer. So everything works fine. Now here's an issue that you might encounter. What if I write kiwi with uppercase here? Hit OK. The fruit is unknown to me. So this also happens in the if statements. So if this one is uppercase, so our prompt here, the user input equates to kiwi and not kiwi with a lowercase, it's not going to be the same. It's going to give us a false. So it's going to move on. Then it's going to check this one, no kiwi, move on, and it's just going to end up in the default. So we can check this. This works also in an if statement, by the way. So if you do something like if kiwi triple equals with kiwi, this is going to result to false. And we can check this in the console. So let's do kiwi triple equals to kiwi. As you can see, it's false. Okay, so this matters a lot. So how can we fix this? What if they write everything uppercase? They have the caps lock on and they're like, kiwi. So what do we do then? Well, what we can do is we can take this value that from the user input, and it doesn't matter how they write it. We have a method, so one of those functions built in to the browser in JavaScript that we can add to make everything lowercase. Okay, so we can add a dot here at the end of this, so we can kind of chain together this final value, and we can chain it together here. Or what we can do here is say let we can converted value or something like that, and that can be equal to user input dot. So that works the same way as if I chain it in here. All right, let's keep it kind of separate. So we make a new variable here. So we can say user input dot, and let's see kind of what we have here. Now, a lot of people just go through all of these, but to be honest, when you need something, you can look for that. Look for it then, because it's a waste of time to go through all the methods on strings, on objects, and whatever. If you need something like, hey, what if I can make everything lowercase here so these values don't break? Well, I can just add the dot here, and I can kind of look over these and see what I can find. Look at that. What's that? 2 lowercase. Okay, let's write 2 lowercase. What does that do? Converts all alphabetic characters in a string to lowercase. Okay, let's try it out. Add 2 lowercase, and let's call this with a parentheses. Now let's just console log out that converted value. Okay, hit save. Let's take a look. Let me refresh this to get rid of the kiwi example. Okay, let's do kiwi. Look at that, it's all lowercase now. Let's refresh again. Let's do all uppercase, kiwi, and it just converts it to all lowercase. So now we know guaranteed that our switch and the cases here are going to be correct if they add an actual fruit. So that's great. Now all we need to do now is not to do the user input, but the converted value in here. So hit save, and now we should be able to see that everything is going to work just fine. So if I yell out kiwi like that, kiwi is the first food invented by the Ocean Boys. So everything works just fine. So here's a method here that is going to help us extremely check what the user inputs, because we always need to expect the user to write things differently. All right, we cannot just tell the user, hey, make sure you don't add a big K here or a big A here, because the whole thing is gonna break and the app is not gonna work. So we do these methods and conversions in the background to make sure that it works for everybody. Okay, so there we go. These are switch cases. Let's move on and I'm gonna introduce you loops, and after that we're gonna build a small little game.